Hello and welcome to today's episode of Carlton Talks. With us today we've got Daisy, Chisholm, Lewis, Alex and Harry. Harry, do you want to do the honours and open the statement?
Do you think religion has a place in society today?
So I'd like to start this conversation. I think that it does have quite a large part in society today, but only mostly for the people who do believe in religion. So me, I'm not religious anymore, but for people who do go to church or like pray every day, pray every night, whatever, it will impact them quite a lot and have quite a large part to play in their life.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's different levels of like devotion. So Christianity, there's on the one hand there's like people that are gonna go to church every Sunday and they're gonna like have a picture of Jesus and pray, and then there's others that'll just celebrate Christmas and Easter and they're not that devoted, and obviously there's different levels of religion.
Agreeing with your point, I do think that there are different levels of like religion. So like me, I started off actually believing quite a lot in God and Christianity. I was quite a devout Christian until about 5 years ago, and then it sort of all faded away. I started to, I suppose you could say, like turn away from God.
Yeah, I think that the phrase that you've used, like turn away from God, is a really interesting one because we always talk about like reasons why people might no longer believe. And I guess I just want to ask the question, like, why do you think people might not believe in God and therefore cause religion not to have a place in society today?
I can see why people would turn away from God because maybe it's they feel like God hasn't helped in a time of need.
Yeah, and I think that just on that point, you've talked about it's a test of faith and people believing that God is testing to see if they still believe in God, and I think that that's interesting. Does anyone have any kind of opinions on why it might be a test?
I think that humans have free will, which is the ability to choose what path you're going to take, whether you choose between right and wrong.
Yeah, and I think a reflection, like, which one is the world's largest religion around the world?
Christianity.
Perfect. Followed by which one?
Muslim.
Yeah, so Islam. And I think that the fact that we've got millions of people, and I don't know if you'd agree, the fact that we've got millions of people around the world, they still believe in God, they still choose to believe in it, and therefore, in a way, the things that you've brought up, religion therefore still has a place in society today. It just leads me to the next question, I guess, which is related to this, is how does religion change over the course of a person's life? Like, how does it adapt and how does it change?
I think it can change people's like course of life. So if you're younger, obviously I think you can believe in religion more and follow the path like prayer and Christmas and celebrations. But as you get older, I think people like they get a job, they have things to do, so they kind of lose time that they were going to put towards like religion. So as you get older and into adulthood, you kind of like you lose your commitments towards religion, and you kind of, like Lewis said, turn away from God.
I think it does deserve a part in most people's lives, though, as it could be seen to benefit most of them. Like bringing people together every Sunday whenever they go to church, or even just the belief in an all-powerful being that can control everything. It's quite a powerful belief.
Okay. How else might it bring people together? How else might we see religions bringing communities together?
Well, one main way religions bring people together is like celebrations and festivals. So like Diwali and Christmas. I'm not a religious person at all, but I still see my family and friends over Christmas and think, kind of like a lot of the world do, I think Christmas has become more of like a holiday than like a religious celebration. Obviously, celebrating Jesus being born, but I think it's become a bit more than that really, and it's brought lots of people together and helps people in times of need.
Yeah. Do you think then, if religion is it's like kind of losing its meaning, just building on what you've said about like Christmas, for example, a lot of people now not celebrating it for Jesus's birth as was originally intended, but it's been celebrated for various different reasons. Do you think that celebrations are losing their true meaning? Do you think that actually celebrations no longer mean what they once did?
Yeah, I'd say that they are like losing their true meaning because like things are changing, the world's constantly changing. so as people's beliefs and they're becoming less religious and thinking more science. So they don't really see Christmas as like a Christian holiday anymore. It's mostly just for like getting together. Like,
Yeah. I guess just as a random question, like how many people around this table would celebrate Christmas? Like, do we all celebrate?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, and how many of us, I guess, including myself, celebrate it for its true meaning? Do any of us celebrate it because Jesus was born?
I used to go to church, but
Yeah.
now as I've got older, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandma does. Well, that's
Yeah.
about it.
Your grandma does, but is it why, like, in your, like, family, you don't necessarily celebrate, which I think links back to what you said, Daisy, that actually a lot of people now don't necessarily celebrate, particularly Christmas, for its true meaning. Do we think that it just brings, like, religion just brings people together? Or do we think there's...
I think that religion does bring people together, but it also causes like conflict between people. It like can cause like arguments on who's the right religion, and that tends to religion tends to tear people apart, even though they do stem from the same thing.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Because it's all about power and who wants like land and money and stuff like that, and it's all about power between the religions and who's got most power, which god is the best or whatever, and it's just different beliefs like fighting over what's what.
Yeah, just to build on that, really, you could say that maybe if there was, like, if everyone believed in the same religions or had the same goals, everything would be a lot more efficient and run a lot smoother overall.
Yeah, because I guess everyone would be aiming for similar things or similar purposes.
Yeah.
And just linking back to what you said, Alex, like if we've got two different religious perspectives that are arguing or fighting over power, for whatever reason, like surely if they believed the same things or had the same ideas, then it would be a lot easier. And you could say that religion does have a more significant place in today's society if it wasn't causing conflicts.
I think what Lewis was saying about how if everyone believed the same faith, the world would kind of run more smoothly. I think that's quite a very idealistic view, because like people will always cause conflict over if it's like money and territory and stuff like that. I feel like fighting over religion and stuff like that, it's one of the main factors of why the world has unrest.
We've talked about it bringing people together, but are there any other positive things that religion can do?
I think if everyone in one religion had one certain goal, like reducing climate change or something, it would get done a lot quicker because most people would agree with each other rather than fighting over it.
Yeah. Now, would you say that actually, for example, we've mainly talked about Christianity, Islam and Judaism, so your three Abrahamic faiths, do you think that they all do, as faiths, do strive to reach the same goals? Do we think that they do, or do we think that they actually have alternative and opposite perspectives?
I think that they do have the same morals and all, like how they live their lives. I think they do have the same things because their religion stems from, in Christianity, the Old Testament, like
important, it differentiates, I guess,
Yeah.
them, but they all stem from the same place and have the same basic belief systems, and I think that that's important that we recognise that. You mentioned the Old Testament. What do we find in the Old Testament that we can still have that we still use somewhat in today's society? What things? There's 10 of them. Does anyone remember what they are?
Yeah, the commandments, like the laws of the world.
Perfect. So, like, can you give me an example of one of the 10 commandments?
To never steal, I think, is one.
Yeah, perfect. So we've got to never steal, and we think that like things like never steal and never kill, like do not murder, do we think that they are important rules that we've taken from religion?
I mean, if they weren't in the Bible, maybe they wouldn't be as prominent in like current life.
Yeah.
Like the punishments might not be as severe.
Yeah, and I think that we have to consider the fact that a lot of our laws and a lot of our ideals that we have in society do stem from religion, which I guess brings us back to that original statement as to, do we think that overall, each of us individually, that religion has a place in society today? Do we think that it does have a place and it has a role and it plays a role?
Personally, I think that religion does have a place in society because it like brings people together.
And as well, like, if the Bible wasn't created, or if we didn't follow some of the laws that were inside of the Bible, or any other holy book, really, the world would be a very different place overall. Whether that's better or worse, that's for you to decide. But, you know, it would be extremely different with different ideologies.
I feel like religion will always have a place in society. You know, if that's going to become more people believing in religion or less people, but I've started to see that more people are becoming atheist, and the world is becoming secular, and people are relying on science now to rely on science to show us the answer to most things, not just obviously how the world was created, but like obviously we've got climate change and people look into science to find an answer to it, not just God.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you brought up the idea that people becoming more secular, and that people becoming less religious over time. I think that's important that we consider.
Yeah, I agree with Harry because like science is becoming a massive thing now. Like people are exploring space all the time, and they're like taking people up there and stuff. So it's making people question like, is God actually real, or is it just something that someone like someone like an idea that someone created, like to comfort people? Because I mean, death is really scary, and the thought of going like to heaven or wherever after death is like a good thought. It like sort of calms you down a little bit.
Yeah. So just on that, so do you think that then religion does have a place? If it's there to comfort people, do you think that's an important role that religion does play in society?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Cool. And Alex, are you?
Yeah, so obviously agreeing with everyone there, religion does, and it always will have a place in society, but it's made the history of the world, like Lewis said, with the laws, the world will be a different place. The world's obviously becoming secular. People have different priorities to religion now, but everyone learns about religion in school, wherever they are. It's obviously a big part of the world.
So talk to me about faith in this school. Like, how do you think faith and religion is presented at Carlton?
Well, off camera, we had a brief discussion about like how we've got a prayer room, and I think it's the first time us five have actually found out we have a prayer room. So I think we could do more to build awareness for people with different beliefs and religion at our school, and I think we could do more to like show that. Obviously, I'm not saying it's not, but to show Carlton is a safe place to have different views and opinions and beliefs, because you know I do think we've got a bit of work to do to get to that place where everyone feels comfortable saying and doing what they believe in.
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone else have anything that they wish to?
We do. I think this school does put quite a lot of emphasis on religion, though. Like, we have a full hour a week with you, learning about religion. However, like, I do think certain subjects do have more of an emphasis put on them. Like, let's say Black History. That's in history, which we have twice a week, and also sometimes in English, and we have that 4 times a week.
So do you think that there's more emphasis and we could do more work around promoting religion?
I could feel like we could do more about why people choose to believe in science over religion. I think we could do more to link both and show like the similarities, because it only shows and raises more awareness to like find out what you could do better.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point that you raised, because actually one of the most famous scientists, Charles Darwin, was deeply, deeply religious, and he obviously created the theory of evolution, amongst other things. And I think it's important, and that's a really good point that you've raised, that actually we see science and religion as so separate, when actually they quite often have and do still work hand in hand. Is there any other things that you think about the school and religion?
I think that it's quite like it helps you build not a tolerance, because that makes it sound bad, but
Understanding.
Yeah, an understanding of why people believe in certain religions. Like, I have some friends that are religious. I don't have a problem with that at all. It's just you believe what you believe.
Yeah.
But there's also like people like Muslims who have to wear like hijabs. My biggest concern though with them is that they're going to get bullied for just like trying to do what they do in their religion. That's my biggest concern, because like there is a lot of people that bully for no reason, and yeah, I think that's what school needs to work on, just like bullying people who are religious and just trying to live their own life.
Yeah. And do you think that maybe school could do more, bring more awareness as to
Yeah.
the purpose of like wearing hijab, for example?
Yeah, I think they can.
Well, I was just going to talk about like how school can make like school trips. So, for example, in year 8, I think me and Harry both went to Bradford and we looked around a mosque and a Gurdwara, and it kind of, not just in school for 1 hour, but for a whole day outside of school, you're learning more about different religions rather than being on one topic for an hour every 6 weeks. Outside of school, you can also learn about religion, like on trips and with different people, and experience with people that actually follow those religions and go to these holy places.
Yeah. And what do you think was the most memorable thing? What do you think in that trip? 'Cause I know obviously you two went on it. What do you think was the most exciting part of that trip that you were able to experience or do?
Learning about what they do. So I think in one of them they give out free meals to everyone. They have services like every day. You can go when you want and stuff like that. And there was just lots to learn about and really understand, rather than being in the classroom and learning about it from one person that's obviously teaching this, but you're learning from a person who follows the religion and has actual personal experience of it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to raise. And obviously, Daisy Chisholm, you two both do this at GCSE. Do you think that trips and a trip to different places of worship would be something that would benefit you, and why do you think that?
I think that it would be really beneficial, because it'll develop more of an understanding for us, and like get crazy in our GCSEs, but also like it will allow us to like properly learn why they think that, and why, for example, what we're doing, suffering in religious studies.
Yeah.
And like understand why they like believe suffering is in the world for a reason, and if it ties in with God or whatever.
Which actually has just refreshed my memory as to the point that I was going to make about Lewis, or what Lewis said. You mentioned about the word tolerance, and actually tolerance is one of the British values, is understanding that actually there are different types of religions and different people who believe different things in the world. Do you think that actually as a school we need to do more work around tolerance and more work on the British values as well, that ties in obviously with this idea of religion? Because to have a religion and to have a different opinion on the existence of God, or just a different opinion, is something that we as a British society think is valuable.
I think that you can do as much promoting as you want, but kids are kids, you know. Someone's going to be bullied, and that still has to be sorted out, but there'll always be a little bit of that somewhere, whether it's small or big. It will always occur, especially if you've got 1,000 people in a school. It's just bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that talking about being understanding is going to help with preventing that though, and promoting the importance of acceptance is going to help prevent that, because people become familiar with different beliefs?
Yeah, it's definitely better to promote it and make people aware of it, but some people just can't change their views.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, it can bring a wider understanding to like certain people's types. So if they're eating different, they're not getting taken the mick out because that's their religion. If they wear something different, like Daisy said, that's their choice because that's what they follow, that's their religion. They shouldn't be getting bullied because of it, because that's what they've been taught and brought up to follow.
Yeah.
And it's obviously their choice, so they shouldn't be bullied around.
Yeah, perfect.
I feel like we should be careful not to force that. You have to, not that being respectful to religion is a bad thing, but I kind of feel like we shouldn't force it on people that like you have to kind of be in a religion. It's okay to not believe or be an atheist or in people's religion, but I think we just really need to drill into being respectful and aware and tolerant.
Okay. And I think that you've all raised really good points, and that actually, yes, people are maybe becoming less religious, but you've got to think about are they becoming less religious in just the UK? And if it's losing its place in or it's losing as much of a place in society in here, in this country, do we think that, again, is that going to be applicable all around the world? And that's just a kind of a closing statement that I'd like to leave it on is, yes, people may be becoming less religious in our local area or in our local community, but does that mean that it doesn't have a place in the wider world, and it's never going to have a place in the history of the world? So thank you all, everyone.